There you go. Okay, so.
Oh boy, now it's really awkward. Yeah. It did. How do I get things to the right screen?
You got like 3 fingers. You gotta go with the fingers.
Oh, no, but I want to. Yeah, I split it.
Oh.
And now it's awkward. Thanks for bearing with us.
Do you want to split it?
I would love to split it. Yeah.
Okay. I actually don't know what I'm doing. Wait. What is the? Oh, it's German.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't have a fucking German layout. They have the Z in the wrong place. No, this is an English layout with German keys. Let's place, there we go. Arrange, what do you, oh, they got switched, is that it?
Ooh, yeah, that looks good.
Is that good?
I'm not sure, because now, no, I think I'm just gonna not, wait, let me. And now we're mirroring. And I'm just gonna not have speaker notes.
Oh, wait, no, I know what you want. I can do that.
Oh, okay.
So, come on, I've been doing this for a while. I can't click on the enter. Where's the enter key? I haven't been doing this for a while. Okay, so you want to go on display. So everyone, so this is how you do it. So you go on display, right? And then you're like,
I'm gonna cry.
Like, unmirror it. Where did you unmirror it? Where did you mirror it?
Command F1. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you just got to bring this baby over here. Not this baby. Where is the speaker notes?
I have no idea.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
I think we lost them.
No, that's not possible. Things don't just disappear. Okay, so I think you have to click on, presenter view.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I did poopy, but it's here, and you can like look here. There you go. Look at that.
That's. Okay, that's the. And you already got to my conclusion, so that's a bit of a spoiler, but we're just gonna like speed back through like 50 slides now. Oh, this is going so well. Hi, I'm Josephine. I'm very embarrassed right now. So I'm here, as Sarah said, to talk about Svelte and accessibility. And she already asked about the Svelte fans, but who has worked with accessibility before? Oh, a lot of people. Oh, that's so cool. Nice. Okay, then you're not confused by the numeronym. If you are, a11y stands for accessibility, and that's going to pop up a little bit in the slides. And if you're wondering who the dork is who doesn't know how to split their screen, that's me. I'm Josephine. I'm a developer relations engineer at Storyblock, and also a Girl Code Ambassador, which is an initiative that tries to fight for equal rights in the technology industry. And I'm here to talk about Svelte and accessibility, two of my passions, if you will. And yeah, we're going to have a look at basically what web accessibility is. Some of you already know. Why it's important, how you can maybe convince people who are not so much into it, what the Svelte Kit compiler warnings do, and what you can do to bridge the gap between the things that they might be missing and what they already catch. So we're going to have a look at semantic HTML, at tab order, and at color contrast. All right, let's dive right in. Before we look at Svelte, we're going to have a brief look into web accessibility. And web accessibility basically means that the tools, technologies, the websites that we build as developers or that we design, they're implemented in a way that people with disabilities can use them and participate equally on the web. And that's a basic human right as defined by the United Nations. If that's not enough to convince somebody who maybe you want, maybe your employer or somebody who's paying you, to convince them to implement web accessibility, there's actually the WHO found that over 15% of our global population are experiencing some form of disability, and that's 1 billion people. And of course, global data is really hard to measure, and the experience of disability is also really hard to quantify. But even if it's just a ballpark, that's so many people, and they have a massive spending power, so it's really worth considering that if you have any kind of business and want to sell a service or something. Also, as a society, we are generally growing older, all of us. And yeah, it also benefits people without disabilities. Here, the table shows some of the different use cases for web accessibility. So you have permanent disabilities like physical, auditory, cognitive, or neurological disabilities, but you can also see here temporary or situational limitations. So that could be maybe you are on the tube and you don't want to turn up the sound, so you rely on captions, or you're outside in the sun and the sun is shining on your screen, so you can't really see and you need higher color contrast, right? And there's so many cases in which web accessibility is going to make all of our user experience a lot better. So in practice, that can mean things like color contrast, I already mentioned, being open to different input methods and actually setting the right input method in your form tag, for example, in the input tag, semantic HTML, and explaining unfamiliar terms. And there's lots more to it. So unfamiliar terms, we've already talked about the a11y. There's a couple more abbreviations. For example, the WCAG. That's the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So if you are looking into implementing web accessibility, you're probably going to have a look at those and see what they recommend to implement. And they have accessibility like divided into 3 different levels: A, AA, and AAA. AAA being the most strict. And you're likely going to try and comply with AA standard if you're looking into that. And all of this was created by the WAI, so the Web Accessibility Initiative. But it's just very broad to get the terms out of the way. So we can talk a little bit about Svelte. I'm so happy there's some fans out there. So on their website, they used to say that they're a radical new approach to building user interfaces. And basically, Svelte is a component framework like React or Vue. But instead of doing the bulk of their work in the browser, they're shifting it to the compile step. And that results in less code, generally, less boilerplate code. Great user experience, great developer experience, and yeah, it's very popular. I don't know if you've seen the Stack Overflow survey. This is 2021. I think it's the most loved framework. It's also second most popular in 2022. And then State of JS found it was what people were most interested in and most happy with. So it's like generally very well received. The community also loves it, so you don't have to take my word for it. It's very, very popular, especially Svelte Kit. So Svelte Kit is the app framework, like Next.js is for React, and it offers things like server-side rendering, code splitting, components for serverless platforms, or routing, and lots more features. It's also stable now, so it's safe to try. It's on 1.0. All right, and what got me hooked was that Svelte Kit said that it's an accessibility-first framework, and I was kind of interested in what that means, right? And so they have these compiler warnings that help you basically need out some of the accessibility issues, and it's checking during compile time what is going on, mainly for individual components, but it really gives you a good starting point, and I thought it was quite a cool statement to say, like, we as a framework are accessibility first, right? So the compiler warnings check, for example, for required attributes, for things like focus and tab order, and some basic semantic structures. It's time to wake up. Okay. And yeah, you can check a full list. They're also adding some in the docs, and they're continuously being improved. So let's have a bit of a look, and now let's see if I can. Yeah, we're in here, but now I need to stop. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Oh, no, it worked. Okay, cool. Is it big enough? Yeah, good. Okay, so we see here, I have a little project running, and we can see here that we get some warnings, right, and some squiggly lines. And maybe we can start right here. So it says we have an image, and there's a logo in there, and it has an alternative text, because we need to use alternative text to have an alternative to the visual image that maybe people who are using a screen reader or who can't see, or who maybe have like terrible internet connection, can then have an alternative and know what's going on, right? So why am I getting a squiggly line if I have an alternative text? Because I'm saying image of something, right? So this is actually redundant. And yeah, it says here, where is it? Here. Should have an alt attribute? No. Well, we'll delete it, and it should go away. Yeah, there we go. The off can go as well. So you see, we want to provide something that actually means something to the screen reader, for example. And the screen reader would say, since this is an image, it would say image of something. So we don't want to bore screen reader users with that. All right, let's check what else we got. We have, oh, actually my linter found this. Yeah, we're not providing a language here. And this is super annoying if you've tried to, I don't know, use Google Maps or whatever in a different country and your phone settings are still set to the original language. It reads it out in a terrible accent. It's not helpful at all. And this is basically what we're doing here. If we're not providing the language tag, it doesn't know what language to pronounce the content in, right? So that's also something that it's pointing out here. And then we have, oh, here's an alt text missing. I'm not actually, oh God, typing when people are watching. And I think this is illustration of desktop. Let's just go with it. And you see, but one by one, the warnings are going away, right? So let's check the next one. What are we doing here? Here I'm setting a tab index in my navigation, and I'm setting a tab index 1, which would bring the element in front of the queue, basically. So if I tab through the page, this is where it would go first. And this is something we want to avoid, because we're basically teleporting the user somewhere where they didn't really sign up to be there, right? So we want to make sure the tab order is the same also for people using the keyboard as it would be for somebody reading the text. And in English, that would be from top to bottom and from left to right, generally. So we have to definitely get rid of this. Let's go ahead. Okay, 3 down. Let's go. Here we have, what's going on here? Oh yeah, an A tag should have an href, right? So we can't just have an empty link. This is also something that the compiler warning will give me a warning about. And something that's also quite interesting is here we're getting like basic semantic structure. Basically, it's telling me that the fig caption element can't just exist on its own. It should be the immediate child of a figure element, right? So we even get, like for smaller components, some hierarchy or some semantic help, basically. All right, let's go back. And something else that you can do in SvelteKit, because it's not doing a full page reload, you wouldn't use, if you use your keyboard or maybe a screen reader, you wouldn't know where you are if you just navigate to a different page, right? So that's why SvelteKit has this feature that you can have these root announcements. Every time you change your page, you can have an announcement for each page, and you basically add that in the title tag. Also quite helpful. All right. So we've seen a bunch of really cool things, right? We have all these compiler warnings. They're getting us on a really good way. We fixed some of the errors, but there we go. There's my speaker notes. But we're not catching everything, right? So let's have a look at the things that we're not catching that we want to fix. The first thing that we cannot catch with the compiler warnings is the hierarchical structure of our headline. So if I inspect this and we have a look at the biggest headline, it's actually an H2, right? It shouldn't be, it should be an H1, and then the less important the content is, the lower I want to go in my headlines, and I want to make sure this all makes sense so that we provide enough context for our screen reader users, for example. And this is something that the compiler warnings are not going to find. They're also not going to see that I that I used links instead of buttons. So this is a link with a class button, which is really not great. And this kind of went through, right? We didn't catch that one as well. So this is something that we would have to check manually or by validating our HTML. We can also use something like the XDevTools, for example, which is like an automated tool that helps you run tests on your page. This tells us that we don't have enough color contrast, for example, right? So that's also super important, and all the visual things are generally also not caught by our compiler warnings, for example. If you wanted to dive a little bit deeper on the color contrast, there are a few other tools that you could use. You could, for example, use something like a web disability simulator to explore what different user groups might experience your site as, right? So we have here, for example, total colorblindness, and you see it's like very much shades of gray. And you can still sort of read everything, but it's a very different experience. Or you could check, for example, for red-green colorblindness. Again, very different. Still readable, but very different. We can also go for something like sunshine. So it's really going to amp up, it's horrible to read. And there you see that we still have a lot of room for improvement when it comes to our color contrast, right? So if I get rid of this, there's also tools that help you check a little bit more in detail. So I could check, for example, my background color. I'm not sure why we're not. Let's try one more time. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're picking our background color. We can pick this is the hardest part, there we go, our foreground color, and you see that we have a color contrast between the background and the foreground of 5. That's above the standard that I need. So to comply with the guidelines that I mentioned earlier, you would need 4.5 to 1. That's kind of the minimum. But you've seen, like, if there's sun shines on my laptop, then it's not really ideal. So we could go for much more, right? So this is something definitely to look out for if you wanted to make sure that it's visible for everybody. All right, and then we have one more tool. I also mentioned the tab order, right? So of course, we've seen that it looks out for the tab index, for example, the compiler warnings. But just to make sure that the tab order is really in sync and everything is where it's supposed to be, there are tools like tab_ally, for example, and if I run that, let's see if it works. It should tab through my page and visualize where we're going. Yeah, and this is something that the compiler warnings didn't catch or I didn't fix. So you see, for example, we're not reaching one of the links or buttons, and we're going in a very weird little figure 8. So this is not what you want to do. You want to go from left to right and from top to bottom, and you want to make sure that everything has focus. So that's something that I would rather try manually. So we see the focus is now on the Svelte icon, and then now we lost the focus, so I'm not sure where we are. And I'm tapping right, there, we were on the icon, and now I think we're on the button, and now we lost it again, right? So you want to make sure there's visible focus. You want to make sure it actually has enough contrast to be seen. And this is also something that's really, really going to help people. And not only people who are using the keyword, but also like power users. You want to go quickly through a page and you want to know where you are at all times, right? So this is also something to definitely test for. All right, so we've seen that we're missing a couple of things. We're missing the structures beyond the individual components, the headline hierarchies. We're not checking for landmarks, the tab order, sort of, color contrast, and anything related to motion as well as something that we can't check with the compiler warnings. So we have a lot of really cool things. We're checking for the required attributes. We're doing some basic HTML validation. We have some structural checks. We make sure that we're not setting tab index, for example, but the overarching structures are kind of missing, and anything visual, for example. So you've seen this before, so it was a bit of a spoiler. But it's not a shortcut, but it's a great start. And I think it already makes all of us more aware and kind of reminding us to do better in terms of web accessibility. So it's a good idea to get started today with Svelte, of course. I mean, some of you already are, but also in looking into accessibility and how you can make your content or your website more accessible for a broader audience. And yeah, that's all from my side. The QR code actually has all the resources that I mentioned if you want to try any of the tools. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out on Twitter. And I think we're going to do the raffle now. Yeah, if you played Tetris or entered for the raffle, now is your moment. Do you want to come up? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Yeah?
I got this, and I'll get you some names.
Okay, cool.
Pick 2 names.
This is... This is again so tall that I can hide behind it.
Everything I've got of you.
Yeah.
Just got your head above the
Yeah, of course, yeah.
All right, so we've got 2 winners.
What do you want to do first? Lego?
Sure.
Okay.
Can you pronounce it?
No. Jihei?
Jihei? Yeah, Jihei Pak. Jihei Pak, you here? Yay!
There you go.
That's an easier one, right?
Oh yeah, Leo.
Riviera? No? Leo's here? All right, we'll pick
Okay,
another one.
second chance.
Just got to wait for the Wi-Fi. Right, here we go. Just pick a random delegate.
Sure.
So we don't even need to put it into the random name picker.
Oh no, it's Leo again.
So random. Let's try just refresh as well.
I'm so glad it's not only me.
Right, go. Actions. Random delegate.
Ah.
Cameo.
Cameo shop.
Chocolate?
Okay.
Chocolate? Cameo? Cameo chocolate? Okay, that's right. We should have picked out several to begin with, shouldn't we?
We need like a drum roll. Oh, I love it.
Anthony Wilson! Yay!